Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Backtrekking, the podcast where we look back at the real-world inspirations behind classic episodes of Star Trek. I'm one of your hosts, Caliban, and I'll bet you credits to Navy Beans. This is going to be a rough one for me. I'm joined on this episode by my co-host.
I'm Gooey, and I'm definitely a gigantic cat. Not a normal cat.
Yeah, that's a Catspaw with a capital C. We've returned to explore the inspirations behind your favorite episodes of Star Trek, and our job gets a lot easier when the screenwriter of the episode in question literally based the episode on a short story that he wrote previously, like Robert Bloch did when he made Catspaw out of Broomstick Ride.
Cheater.
Well, he's just being, economical, I guess, with his work.
It's less egregious than other times where they've, stolen it from someone else. At least he stole from himself.
Yeah, he stole from himself. Exactly. Yeah,
that's fair game. Fair game.
I don't have any great examples right now, but I want to bring up the phenomenon of, you've seen this before, like a writer gets a hit with something and then they keep trying to do that thing over and over again. And I can't really believe that I can't come up with any examples. Maybe Robert Bloch is a good example because he, of course, wrote the book Psycho that was turned into the film Psycho and had nothing really to do with the movie. He just, he basically sold the rights to his book, got maybe $6 or $7 grand, and that was it. And then he submitted a script for Psycho 2, which they didn't want. So he just turned his script for Psycho 2 into the book Psycho 2, which has nothing to do with the actual film Psycho 2.
Psycho 2, back in action.
Yeah, right.
Psycho's at it again.
Yeah. So, you have a good idea. Keep using it, I guess.
Yeah. Why not? There's still something to be squeezed out there. Sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that we get, and we'll talk about it, when we talk about the episode, but I think we get some tantalizing sort of looks into a kind of a different world or a different way that things could have gone in the Star Trek universe.
Sure, yeah. And, they do something different with it. So,
yeah,
it's different enough.
Different enough. I think that's the line that we have to go with. You want to talk about Star Trek news?
Let's do it. Yeah, I would like to learn what's going on.
Going on in the world of Star Trek. Well, as we record this, of course, we're getting close to the premiere of Star Trek Discovery Season 3. So that's something to look forward to. Are you caught up on Discovery?
I am, yes. I'm all trekked up. I'm all up to date. So
yeah,
this will be out after it's out. So
yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, I really loved it. I'm hoping to really love it. This is a real. You have to say this for CBS Star Trek. They certainly don't hold back. I think that it would have been really easy for them to have, say, just put 7 people on a ship. That's a Starfleet ship, and they're just doing missions. They certainly don't shrink from inventive ideas or from they don't fear to tread as angels may when you say, hey, let's make a Captain Pike series after 55 years, the longest a pilot to pick up in TV history.
Right.
And then to take Discovery and go, all right, well, we did that for a while. The ship runs on mushrooms. Now let's go 1,000 years in the future and just see what we can do there, too. So I'm looking forward to what they're going to do.
I think it's the biggest departure from whatever they've been doing so far, right? And I think a lot of people feel like most of these shows have kind of come into their own on the 3rd season too. So maybe this is where they truly, do what they're meant to do, I guess, what the show's meant to be.
I hope so. I think part of that just going out there and taking big swings is them hiring Kate Mulgrew to reprise her role of Captain Janeway in the upcoming Star Trek Prodigy animated series.
I saw that. Yeah, I forgot what that show is. What else do we know about that show? What's it supposed to be about? Just a different ship? It's a kid's show, obviously.
It's going to be, it features a cast of young characters. I don't know how young, but they're kids, basically.
Okay.
And they find a derelict ship, which they use to, explore the universe, and then also Janeway somehow.
Okay, sure. I wonder if she can be hanging out with them. That'll be interesting to see how Admiral Janeway is hanging out with these kids.
It seems like it. I mean, we don't know at what it's animated, so we don't know at what point in her life she'll be, or if she's
fair enough, yeah,
pulled out of time or pulled out of the Delta Quadrant or something like that. I don't know. Maybe Q gets these kids together, but
well, she plays a child version of herself.
Yeah. Oh, little Katie Janeway. Yeah,
she has to do like a baby voice.
I want some coffee. Yeah, we'll see. We don't know much about it, and the friends I have that work on it won't tell me anything, and that's good.
Sure.
They're holding to their NDAs, but it does sound like an exciting opportunity to I don't know, just do something else. I've always said, like, why is there no Star Trek cartoon? You know, we of course talked about the animated series. And of course, they've got Lower Decks now, which is for all audiences. But yeah, why not just have like get kids, get them early? You know, make an animated show.
Yeah, that seems like actually like the more logical first thing to do as opposed to Lower Decks. But yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to do a kids show.
Speaking of streaming entertainment, we kind of were. I watched a movie recently that I wanted to talk to you about because it's got there's controversy involved, and that movie is Cuties on Netflix.
Okay,
which has caused all of this consternation and tearing of the garments and the hay and the hoe. And for anybody who doesn't know, Cuties is about a Senegalese immigrant girl who lives in Paris, and she is, you know, part of the immigrant community. She's sort of separated from her peers, and she meets a group of girls who do a dance club thing after school. It's just them. It's not really organized, but they want to be like, flag girl dancers and enter this competition. And she sort of falls in with them. And the movie has caused, after its release, not before its release, it won a bunch of awards and everybody was excited about it. But as soon as it came out on Netflix, it caused a lot of, there was a reaction from certain groups saying that it was over-sexualizing these girls, and it was essentially like, child pornography. And the movie is self-aware. The movie is making a point about the over-sexualization of girls. Also, the main character is a Sufi Muslim, and she is basically, she comes from a very strict religious background, and so it is exploring the way that we look at women and young, especially young women in society, and the kind of things that they are exposed to and the messages that they get. And I thought that it's a pretty good movie. It's not a great movie, but I thought that message was really clear, and I thought that that's clearly what it was about. And so I was surprised that people made such a big deal out of it, and that I think it was, I can't remember the city, but a city in Texas, like the Attorney General indicted Netflix, just stick out your hands, Netflix, here come the cuffs, for vulgarity, and people's reaction to it is extreme.
Right. Yeah. So I haven't seen it, or like, I can't speak on it as much, but it did have the conversation did kind of reek of like, there's probably more to it than the people who are outraged about it are saying, but obviously they haven't seen it either. They're not going to engage with it. Because to see it and engage with it would, in their mind, would mean they would have to be choosing to then watch child porn, right? And then,
I guess so.
So it's like, it's just like you have to be outraged about it. I don't know, I'm sure someone could probably have some criticism of it. Like any film or any piece of art, you probably critically engage with it, but that's not what's happening here. It's just people being outraged for the sake of it.
Yeah, I will say that the big misstep and the first shot fired was from Netflix, though, because in promoting the film, they created a poster for it that takes this, there's this big dance competition that's like the kind of climax of the film, where the girls are dancing, and it takes that kind of out of context and does sort of, show them as like, ooh, whoa, look at these hoochie mama.
I've seen
things.
that picture, where they're kind of sexualized, That's the Captain Picard facepalm moment. It's like, why do that? That's
dumb. The movie's whole message is like against that, but then you took that part out of context and made that the image. Like I feel like one of those Texas moms. It's like, come on.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting to hear from you, and like good to hear, I guess, that it's. I mean, I wasn't assuming it was bad or anything. I was actually taking the route of like, I'm just not even going to talk about this with most people, because it seems like a frustrating waste of time. Because the people who are angry and want to talk to you about it haven't seen it, and I haven't seen it. So I was like, what's the point of having a conversation about this thing none of us have seen?
It's very sensible of you. Yeah. Well, we did. We watched it and we covered it on a recent episode of Just Enough Trope. And like all Just Enough Trope episodes and all Just Enough Trope Network episodes, it's available on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And after I posted it, I immediately got a link about or a comment posted about the Netflix Cuties conspiracy. Click here to find out more, which I just assumed was a Q thing, and we got rid of that comment.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, this stuff is insane. And
what's going on with this Q thing? What? Like, obviously, pedophilia bad. A problem. Child abduction bad. But like, they don't. The stats don't support what they're talking about.
And they don't also care about the places where it's actually happening. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah, they don't care.
Like at ICE detention facilities or
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just insane. It's insane. Yeah. It's scary for sure.
They're concerned about it, but they're not engaging with the problem at all. So,
and this is probably going to be a thing like that Q thing. That's probably going to be with us for a while, like that political mindset, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's like the next stage in that evolution of that worldview is the Q shit.
Yeah, I hate to see what Q evolves into, or QAnon. But anyway, if you're thinking about watching Cuties, it's fine. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
You won't get put on a list if you watch it.
Well, I don't know who's making the list, but I did notice that Netflix still has it online, probably because of contractual obligations. But it's not clearly people are watching it, right? But it doesn't show up in the top 10 or the trending or anything like that. They have basically buried it. But yeah, it's just a film. It's actually it's kind of unfortunate that this happened because the parts that aren't like about the dance competition are a really fascinating look at a story that you are not going to hear told very often. The writer-director, is herself was a Sufi Muslim and a Senegalese French refugee. And so it's like a story from a quadrant that you are rarely going to hear from. And, it's being silenced for the wrong reasons. So, yeah, I mean, it's fine. Like I said, it's a pretty good movie. You will feel uncomfortable at certain parts, and that is the director's intent, and that's it. And everybody I'll just live another day.
This is like the inverse of like, you take like Goodfellas or whatever and say that it's like promoting toxic masculinity or something like that. And it's like, that is a thing that's in the movie, but
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess. Well, maybe that's a little different. I immediately think of Fight Club, it's not alive, or is it? And its message is, it's an anti-fascist message. It's an anti-toxic masculine message. But if the toxic masculinists can watch it and also enjoy it for that reason, well, I mean, who wins? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah, I was thinking of more of like the Goodfellas as example of, because to me, that it's pretty clear if you actually watch it, I don't know. But it's like, it requires you, like you could make that claim about a lot of movies, but like it would require you to engage with it and to watch it instead of just saying it without actually seeing it,
It's a little bit of both because it's, being an asshole and being a murderer and a gangster is bad, but people do look great blowing up in slow motion to Layla.
Yeah, well, what can you do?
Keep dancing, girls. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, let's move on to our completely different featured subject for today's show. Stories about man's overconfidence in his technical achievements are commonplace in science fiction. Where better to explore the hubris of humanity than among the cold stars of the endless universe? Science fiction often proves to man that there's beings more powerful or laser guns that are bigger. But what if technological achievement itself is the folly? What if powers greater than science lurk in the dark places of the galaxy, waiting to smash mankind's laughable toys? That's the question asked by author Robert Bloch in his 1957 short story, Broomstick Ride. Robert Bloch's an interesting guy. He's written, the only thing that anybody ever really knows that he wrote is Psycho, but he is a Hugo Award-winning author. He won the Bram Stoker Award, the World Fantasy Award. You know, he kind of hit for the cycle early in his career. Yeah, and he was a protege of H.P. Lovecraft in that he was in the Lovecraft circle. And he has, he's written just a ton of short stories and novels over the course of his career. And of course, like we said, the one that he's best known for is Psycho. And with the success of Psycho, he did that thing that everybody does, which is he moved to Hollywood and then tried to start writing for movies and TV. And he did some, he never hit it really all that big, but he wrote for Star Trek. He wrote 3 episodes of Star Trek. This, What Are Little Girls Made Of?
Okay.
And also Wolf in the Fold. And the reason that Wolf in the Fold is significant is because the success of Psycho meant that he kind of shifted more to a kind of true crime sort of bent in his writing. Yeah, he was from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And of course, Psycho is based partially, or actually more than partially, on the story of Ed Gein, the serial killer and cannibal who was in Plainfield, Wisconsin. So he wrote Psycho basically about Ed Gein. He also wrote a nonfiction essay about Ed Gein that won an award and kind of went on from there. Another figure that he focused on was Jack the Ripper as well, which of course connects to Wolf in the Fold. And he wrote like a couple different stories about Jack the Ripper. One where Jack the Ripper was traveling through time with the Marquis de Sade. So he's still got this. He's got this horror bent, but sometimes it's a little more realistic, true crime-ish horror. He's got a vibe, right?
Yeah, Elaine.
He really does. Yeah. And he, in the 2012 film Hitchcock, I think that's the one with where Anthony Hopkins plays Hitchcock. They talk about Robert Bloch, but as they're developing Psycho, but there's no character that comes on screen as Robert Bloch. So again, kind of skunked. Didn't really get the credit. But,
I was not familiar with him at all. Like I didn't even know. To be honest, I've seen Psycho many times, and I did not even know it was based on a novel. Poor guy. Poor guy has been skunked by my own brain.
It's based on the horrible, terrible story of Ed Gein.
Yeah.
And Norman Bates, his behavior in that regard is based on Ed Gein's, but apparently Norman Bates is also based on Calvin Beck, who's the publisher of Castle of Frankenstein, which is a horror and true crime magazine. So it's like, careful when you're yelling at your writers, because they might be building one of the most famous serial killers of all time. They might be basing it on
How
you.
rude, yeah. Well, I like what he's got going like this, because he's done a lot of now horror sci-fi, and that's like a classic combo for me.
Yeah.
So,
And
I like what he's doing.
Usually when you get horror, you can do all kinds of things with horror and sci-fi, but usually it's just like some kind of monster or something. Technically, I think, well, not technically, a lot of H.P. Lovecraft's short stories had a real sci-fi bent.
Yeah.
If you imagine just, that the old ones or the aliens that he's talking about, come from outer space, but some of them had, specifically sci-fi stuff in addition to the gothic horror. And that's kind of where we find ourselves in with Broomstick Ride, which having read it, it's like, oh yeah, this is a Star Trek episode, which is waiting to
Yeah.
happen, an original series episode.
It reminded me of like Forbidden Planet, where you could just like change the characters' names, and it's like, yeah, you got Star Trek there.
Yeah, or you can look at Shakespeare, change some names, and you got Forbidden Planet.
Right, yeah. It did really feel like again, the episode did a little bit more with it, but it did feel like he just kind of ripped it from there and, you know, spiced it up a little bit.
There is Shakespeare referenced in this, just in terms of like kind of setting us up with witches and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's not actually like a Shakespeare story. And I guess, you know, I encourage people to read the story. You can find it online. Just Robert Bloch, Broomstick Ride, but we'll summarize it for anybody who hasn't read it. There's a guy named Forbes, and he's like a starship captain, and they are surveying this world. We don't know any of the background, if they're a part of a Starfleet or whatever, but it's just like they're Earthmen, probably about 1,000 years in the future. And they come to this planet with kind of primitive people on it. They're like kind of in the Middle Ages level development. And things go a little wacky when suddenly like witches and stuff start appearing, and basically the captain has to go talk to the ruler of this area of the planet called a Cal, and the Cal tells him that the people that live on this planet called Pyrus, and that the planet in the Star Trek episode is called the same thing, came to Earth, or came here from Earth a long time ago using magic. And the guy's like, well, that can't be possible. Maybe that's just a legend. Like, they probably use technology. And the Cal's like, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, that's probably what happened. And they let Forbes and his men go, and they take off. But then we find out that the leader of the witches and the Cal are working together to suppress science on their planet, because turns out magic is real, and they worship the evil one, and that's where they get their power from. And they take a sort of they use sympathetic magic to take a model of Forbes' ship and throw it in the fire and destroy Forbes and his crew, so they can't tell anybody the secret of their planet.
That's all of it. Yeah, it's very simple. Like,
yeah,
the bulk of the story is their little conversation in that room. Like, the most of the story is almost like a guy going like, "What if like the aliens worship the devil and it's technology?" It's just like someone explaining like a cool sci-fi premise to you, and you going, "Wow, oh, that sounds crazy," and then it's just like, yeah, so you should leave, and then they leave, and then they die.
yeah.
I love it. I love how simple it is. Actually,
it's a great concept with a real quick turn, and it's a little threadbare. Like, there isn't a lot going on. It's probably only like a couple pages long. It's a really short story, but I thought that some of the themes that came out were just the idea of like that technological superiority and being ignorant of things that you don't think are important. As the thing opens, Forbes they have this surveying equipment, but he's like, he's kind of ready. I think he's expecting to see witches, because he's gone back in their historical records of what they call old style Earth, which old style Earth sounds like, Pabst old style. Yeah. Like everybody's just, wearing hipster
I like
clothes
my
and stuff.
Earth old style. Yeah.
Yeah. But he studies old style Earth, and there's all these things that like, happened hundreds of years ago for us, for you and me right now, but he's completely unfamiliar with them. So he's like, oh, okay, so Shakespeare. And apparently he can read very fast, because he's like, Shakespeare wrote about these witches. Okay, interesting. And there's all these things that they've clearly just discarded, and just relegated to old style Earth. But
that
it turns out those things are pretty relevant.
It feels more realistic than in Star Trek, where everyone knows everything about
everything all the time. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point, and it's very different from Star Trek in that, he's a captain of a starship with a crew and everything, but they're here basically. They don't care about the Prime Directive, because they just came down and landed and just went up to the castle and were like, "Hey, what's up? We're from another planet."
Yeah.
And they want to negotiate mining rights, and so they're already going to take the resources of this, of this.
They're just colonizing, yeah.
Yeah, that's just starting to develop. So, yeah, big difference there.
Yeah, that feels practical though. Like that'll probably happen.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, they get what they deserve when you look at it like that.
Yeah.
I was fascinated too at the idea of them trying to deceive, because we don't get any sense of their character. You know, they literally worship Satan or an evil old one that is real. But, you know, other than just murdering all those guys at the end, it's not like they're like particularly nefarious. And they try to give them this cover story of, you know, oh, well, we just came here from Earth a long time ago. You know, you can see the similarities in our language. You know, why are they so similar? You know, why are we developing in the same way? And that's what it is. And trying to kind of trick him so they can keep things secret, but then apparently the witch guy can read minds, and he's like, no, he knows. I think he knows the whole thing. So into the fire.
Yeah, that was a great twist. That it was just like, magic is real, and we're gonna blow him up.
Yeah, yeah, it's totally real.
That was a great ending, actually, because they're very coy about what the like little voodoo doll ship is. You know?
Yeah. And we left Earth to escape a persecution. I mean, geez, we should have done this with Magic of Megas 2.
I was actually thinking that, like, because I was like, oh, you could make a whole, like, you could expand upon these themes more.
Yeah.
Because this is more of a, like, I feel like it's just an implication of the themes, like a suggestion, and, like, think about that, why don't you? Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah.
And they don't really explore it. But that episode kind of does Magic of Megas 2 in a different way with a different outcome, but still.
Yeah, it goes way. Yeah, it's this on acid, but he puts little things in there like that. Like Forbes one of his crewmen is like using the expression "bedamned." And Forbes is like, I bet he doesn't know that comes from an older time in the old style when people literally believed that people would be damned, you know, by God, or, you know, be damned to hell.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And that's just another, I mean, he knows that because he just read it in the things, but they paint this picture of a forward looking civilization that, you know, has no real idea of their past.
Which, yeah, again, like, I don't know. I don't think the average person now, like, could tell you actually that much about Shakespeare. So, like, why would someone 200 years from now, like the average Joe, you know?
It's because, well, I mean, apparently Starfleet has kept all that, kept that hard drive or data disk or whatever.
That's what happens when you stop watching TV.
Yeah, right. Yeah, in 2040, TV's gone. Poor Sonny Clemens. Can't watch TV anymore.
Can't watch the Braves.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, and it really saddens me. I know that we're kind of opening it up a little bit on new Star Trek shows that, yeah, other cultures and things exist besides, you know, white man's culture and Shakespeare and that sort of thing. But then we also don't, because like on Discovery, they're singing David Bowie songs and Prince songs and stuff like that. And it's like 1,000 years of music that you could pull from. Do you know what I mean? It's like the same. Oh, a Beatles song. Great.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. Or give us some more. I want to hear the future songs. I just want to hear the future songs.
But part of the problem is you have to communicate to an audience. So if a character is going to reference a play or a piece of music or something like that, like, you know, your average American audience member knows Bach. So if you do some Bach or something like that, then they go, oh, okay, I get that. But if you pick, you know, who was that character that was? Did you see Bill and Ted?
Yes.
Face the Music?
Yeah.
In Bill and Ted Face the Music, they go like 10,000 years back in time. I mean, that's too far. Is that the cave person?
You're talking about the Chinese, like, flautists?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they go back thousands of years to a real life person, or at least we think that it's sort of a Mulan situation. We think that she was real. Ling Lun was her name. And she apparently invented like the 5-tone scale. And that's cool. Like, I love that, like, Bill and Ted are like, yeah, we'll have Hendrix, but then let's do this too. But on Star Trek, you know that somebody's going to be talking about Shakespeare. I think one time they did Moliere one time in that Barclay episode. So, wow, we're really branching out now.
Okay,
but they don't talk about like, like Well, they don't talk about Russian playwrights, which I think is interesting. They don't talk about, African playwrights or anything like that. Like, you could, if that hard drive that I'm imagining they have has everything on it, then let's get some other stuff out of that hard drive. And as the franchise has gone on, and we've brought like people of color into the writing room and stuff like that, like we're getting that a little, but somebody's singing a Beatles song.
That's like not the hard part, but like the catch is like, I can imagine like your basic white guy writer is like, the ideas he would come up with and be like, this is fun, would be like, what if we hang out with Da Vinci? Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah,
it's
right.
like,
yeah.
that's just probably what's on his mind, So yeah, that's a great point, is that like you need to probably have people who have different cultural touchstones to come up with these cool things, because it'd be cool to, like see that in a context that I'm less familiar with too.
Yeah, I mean, teach the audience something. Plus, you don't even have that audience excuse anymore, because when you drop a episode of Discovery, except for a few, depending on the markets and a few exceptions, it goes all over the world. You can watch it on the International Space Station. So it's everyone is your audience now, and they want to see themselves there too. But don't write any weird, like, Tony Stark goes to China scenes that are just for the international release of Iron Man 3. That's weird.
That comes off as more
pandering.
Propagandistic pandering. Yeah.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. Propaganda as well. I like the idea, or at least they suggest in this, and I like the suggestion that one of the reasons that the people of Pyrrhus are keeping this secret is that they get their power from the evil one, but they have to keep worshiping him, just like any god would wither without followers or devotion. They don't want science to infect them, because they need people ignorant and worshiping the evil one.
There's, I guess, a little message there, especially when they go to the length of completely destroying this other ship,
Sure.
That we got to keep the masses ignorant. Yeah.
Yeah, and we see they call him like the Master of the Sabbath, but they don't know what he would be called on the planet Pyrrhus. But they have this whole, witch's brew type thing, sacrifice a goat-like creature and stuff. But there are two sort of factions on Pyrrhus, and if worshiping the evil one is so important, it's the source of all their power, why not just convince everybody? Why not make the devil God? Do you know what I mean? Like, why not convince everybody that it's important to worship this guy and just make it like the main religion of the planet?
Yeah, it seemed like, I don't know, I guess it seemed like they were trying to say there's some benefit to like creating this false dichotomy, I guess.
Yeah.
Which, I guess I can sympathize with that.
Presumably the Cal, has to pretend like he's, persecuting the witches, but so presumably there is some other religion, some analog of Christianity or something like that.
I mean, maybe that's a message in itself of like, presenting these, these systems that are supposed to be at odds against each other, but they really are, cohesive, I guess.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, I can imagine Star Trek making a meal out of that as well.
It's like when I see a Facebook ad on a YouTube video about like registering to vote, and I'm like, well, Facebook and voting, I don't know. They're just there's like a sketchy thing going on there. You know what I mean? Like the way that they interact with that, even though they're forward facing, presenting this as like, hey, we're here to help you vote and like do good things for the election, but really like they've been up to some stuff,
Yeah.
Or their platform has been used,
Yeah. Lord, give me the strength to just quit Facebook. I really need to, like, in order to quit Facebook, I need to go even deeper. Like, the only way out is through, because the only reason I'm still there is to promote my various, again, it's the audience. That's where my audience is. I need to tell them about the things I'm doing on the network, but I need to, like, go in, maybe pay for a little extra, pay for the stats, and find out who and who I'm actually reaching and how much. And if those numbers aren't satisfying, then I need to go. And yeah, that's a real mercenary sort of business decision. But
right, yeah.
That's the only reason I'm there anyway. When I read about, Facebook is finally going to block anti-vaxxer things. It's like, oh, great. And then you read about how Facebook like fired a guy that worked for them who was told them basically, right-wing people are like taking over this platform. Like they've got all these ads and everything. And they're like, okay, well, you're fired. Don't tell anybody that.
Speaks to the point I was trying to make there, which is like that there's like lip service paid to this thing, but they actually benefit from those things existing, but they also benefit from acting like they don't like it,
Right.
And that's
right.
I guess maybe that's kind of the vibe I get from that planet is like maybe there's something. They probably have some incentive of acting like, we want to get rid of the witches, but like we're
Sure.
actually given a lot of power from this witch lobby.
Oh my God, Zuckerberg is the cow. Now it all makes sense. I like the idea of them the witches hopping on their broomsticks and just whoop, like shooting through space.
Yeah, I gotta know more about the witch, like the history of witches and like broomsticks. You know what I mean? Like, because when I think of a witch on a broomstick, I think of like the very like store bought witch Halloween, image.
Like Samantha from Bewitched.
But when they were, yeah, exactly. But like Wicked Witch of the West style, all green, big hat, pointy hat.
Yeah, right.
But when they're describing the ceremony that they're witnessing, I'm thinking of more of like the witch, like that more like old, like
sure,
kind of based in the historical whatever. And so then when they're like, and then they like rose up on broomsticks, I'm like, I just imagine like this cartoon witch coming out of this like very terrifying ceremony. And I guess I just want to know what I want to see. I wish the witch had a witch flying around on a broomstick so I'd know what it's supposed to look like.
I'm imagining like an Apollo astronaut like getting on a broomstick and then like flying out into space.
Yeah,
in a spacesuit. But still the pointy hat though. Gotta have the pointy hat on top of the huge helmet.
Yeah, I think you could do witches in space cartoon show would be cool.
Yeah, that's something that we see a little in the episode as well. Is that I like this idea of if Block didn't. This was written in '57 before the success of Psycho, but in a world without Psycho, maybe he goes back and doubles down on this, and we get like a spacefaring empire that runs off of magic instead of science.
Oh, that'd be cool. Witch punk. It'd be
witch
called.
punk.
That'd be the genre.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Is there like a lot of space magic stuff? Like I just think of like Star Wars,
Warhammer.
Okay.
Warhammer 40K.
That's true. I don't know much about it, but yeah.
Yeah, which is like it's like space, but it's also Lovecraftian kind of elements as well.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that were like space or where magic and science are, in the Clarkian sense, like the same thing. So, like Thor, for instance,
Yeah.
In the very first Thor movie, he goes, "Oh, like our magic is just like your science," but then like the next 6 films are like, "No, it's just magic." I mean, he just lives in a magic town with a magic dad, and
it's just so they don't have to explain it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like how does the hammer work and the axe and all this other stuff? It's just magic. It's fine.
So you have these things.
Captain America's shield is magic when you think about it. Like it doesn't make any sense.
The reason that Thor and Captain America can both lift the hammer is actually because they have these things in their blood called midichlorians.
Oh God. I have an acquaintance who, well, I'll give him a plug because he's got online stuff. His name is Dr. James Kakalios, and he is a professor at the University of Minnesota. And don't tell him I said this, but one of the things that he does is he's written several books that is like the science, and physics of superheroes.
Okay.
And so when you've got like this hammer that only one person can lift. He takes it from a real world perspective and says, okay, so if Thor can control this, then how could you make something like, how can this hammer suddenly increase its mass, to keep other people from lifting it? And the part that you shouldn't tell him is, I don't really like that kind of stuff. Like, we have to I support science. I wanted to be a scientist when I was a kid. You definitely learn about science, but I hate when we have to go in and deconstruct everything and go, well, this is that the axe would probably generate all these newtons of force. And it's like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
It's a comic book.
Especially in a thing like that, or I've read scientific descriptions of things in Star Wars, and it's like, it's really not begging for that explanation,
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to know how a lightsaber works.
No, it doesn't really matter. But go buy James's books because he's a really nice guy, and his books are really funny too. There's a guy on YouTube that I've been watching a lot of his videos now that's kind of like that. I think his name's Kyle Hill, and he has like long blonde hair, and he used to work for Nerdist. He's the guy that like writes with these neon.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Markers,
yeah.
But he's got his own channel now called something else, The Facility, I think it's called. And I like his stuff a little better because he kind of does the same thing, but it's more like taking the stated facts of whatever it is and then trying to apply that to situations. So it's like, we see the Hulk lift, a giant space lizard or something like that. And so like, could the Hulk do this or could the Hulk do that? Or how could you kill Wolverine and videos like that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say in general, in both examples, I think that stuff is like fun and cool. I just don't like when it becomes like super applied to everything and like really important to other people. And so maybe it's like a Fight Club thing where it's like, maybe it exists for this one purpose, but all these other guys, they're taking it out of control, I think, a little bit.
There's two kinds of like, what would you call it? Like related media or tie-in media. There's two kinds of books about science of Star Trek. There's the book where the guy tells you all the reasons that we can't do stuff, and then there's the one where the guy tells you, or the girl tells you, all the ways that we've kind of already achieved that. And there are two different books called Treknology, and I've had both of those authors on Enterprising Individuals now. And they're both great guys, but one of them was the guy who's like, well, we'll never be able to do this, and we'll never be able to do that. And the other guy's like, we're living in Star Trek right now, baby. Like, look, you got pads in your hands, and we can do this,
right.
And we've got microsurgery, and we've got all kinds of stuff.
Star Trek, that works really well because they're trying to explain it on the show, as best as they can.
Yeah. But I mean, when you think about it, like you go to the grocery store, the door's open.
Whoa!
You don't have to open the door. So come on, get happy.
Going there with my my technical manual in my pocket.
Yeah, and that technology has improved steadily as well. It used to be that there was a piezoelectric trigger in the mat. I'm old enough to remember this, where you step on a mat in front of the door, and that what opens the door. And now it's just like, oh, there's somebody coming, and it just opens. So come on, be positive.
I gotta say though, we're not fully there yet because there's four of those where I work, and one of them you really got to get up there and like wave your arm at the thing to get it to go, and it's like, come on.
Does it know when you're at the end of a conversation though, and you give your little closing quip, and then you go through the door and then it closes?
For dramatic, well, I've had plenty of times where it just doesn't open on me, and then I look totally foolish. So it's had almost the opposite effect.
Yeah, has the door read the script? That's what we need to know.
Yeah, we need it. It needs a more than just a motion detector and sort of an AI conversation analyzer.
Yeah, right. I think it's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy where all the elevators are psychic, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That's how they know to be there when you need a ride. Yeah.
They should be able to, read your mind, check your pulse.
Are you familiar with Wolf in the Fold?
Yes, that's the one where Scotty kills someone.
Well, he kills a couple people, yeah.
He's possessed, right, by Jack the Ripper. Isn't that the...
Yeah. That's another...
That's next year's Halloween episode, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It's very similar, or has a similar idea or similar vein in the idea of, Jack the Ripper isn't Jack the Ripper. It's this ancient, murderous energy being that's sort of always existed. And we just got unlucky. And then I also like in that episode how they kind of chart the trajectory. So I can't remember Nimbus. I can't remember the name of the planet in Wolf on the Fold is the Scotland planet, but or it's like not. It's a foggy London planet, and they find out that like they basically look at the historical or galactic records, and there's been like weird unexplained murders, and they're all in like a path, like a straight line on a string that runs through Earth and all these other planets, and then now this planet. So this murderous spirit has just been, we don't know where it's going, where it came from, if it's even from our galaxy, but it's just sort of heading in one direction, and then every 50 years or so it runs into a planet or a habitat and then kills some people and keeps going.
Wait, so because I don't fully remember all the details. So Jack the Ripper was this murderous spirit,
whoever Jack the Ripper was,
okay,
he was just possessed by
I think that they should do more episodes like that, where like other historical figures were actually some alien.
Star Trek doesn't do horror.
Yeah,
but I think they should. I think that, well, maybe not. I don't know. Star Trek is like fully drinking the Kool-Aid of, the smart is sexy, but it's also, knowledge is the best, ignorance is the worst. Knowledge is how we can climb out of, social ills, and how we can like meet other people and stuff like that. And then to have, they know all these things about the galaxy, and then even things they don't know, they're always out there studying things. So like having something that's totally unknowable, a Cthulhu or something like that, is like, that's kind of like against the ethos of Star Trek. But I don't know, you do it once in a while.
Yeah, that actually makes me think of like in the episode that we watched, like I think that's where it goes a little bit more wrong for me, is that it sets up like, oh, this is going to be about spooky stuff, but then it's mostly about like Kirk talking to this lady about what their alien species is, and like seducing her. I don't know.
Well, we're already talking about the episode, so should we button up Broomstick Ride?
Yeah, let's do it.
Nothing else to say?
5 stars. I don't know. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I did like it, and it's I just read this story because it was published online, but it's part of a larger collection of I think a 2-volume collection of Block's collected short stories. So, and I started flipping through some of the other ones, and they seem pretty cool too. So I would recommend that you check it out and check out more of Block's work, not just Psycho.
I gotta check out any of it.
Yeah. Check out all of it. So with that, let's take a break for a word from our sponsors. We'll be back with more backtracking.
Hi, I'm Mikan Hana.
And I'm Caliban.
And we're the hosts of the Sailor Noob podcast. I'm the expert.
And I'm the noob.
You're talking into the wrong end of the microphone.
Aye.
Okay, every week we watch a new episode of Sailor Moon and learn about monsters, fashion, food, culture, and of course, the sailor warrior of love and justice, Sailor Moon.
All right, now, what is her rank? Is she an admiral or a rear admiral?
Okay, shh. The ad's almost over. We're a couple of magical people, and every week we Moon Prism Power make up a new episode.
Ready her midships. Steady as she goes.
Please stop that. Sailor Noob is available every Friday on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Shiver me timbers. Okay, we're back. It's time to talk about the Trek side of the equation. Many of Trek's earliest episodes were written by giants of science fiction and fantasy. Names like Sturgeon, Matheson, Block, and Ellison, providing imaginative and thoughtful plots for Kirk and crew. They also saved Kirk and crew from cancellation after the show's first season, when Harlan Ellison organized a letter-writing campaign of science fiction writers who wanted to see Trek, a show that consistently hired sci-fi authors, stay on the air. The second season of Trek saw a few changes in the production, which is still being capably run by producer and writer Gene L. Kuhn, but in many ways Trek was still Trek, combining deep science fiction plots with the trappings of mid-budget primetime sci-fi. One result of that combination was the first and only holiday-themed episode of the original series, the Robert Bloch-penned gothic horror-themed episode, Catspaw.
Captain's log, stardate 3018.2. Crewman Jackson is dead.
Captain Kirk, there is a curse on your ship. temperature, sir. It keeps rising.
We're burning up, sir.
As I was.
Stop!
I think Catspaw is one of the worst episodes of the original series. And I think it might, comparing it to other Trek shows, I think it's worse than like Code of Honor.
Okay.
Because Code of Honor is a bunch of white guys trying to do right with Afrofuturism, and they fail miserably, but they were trying a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like they were they were taking a swing at it. And Catspaw is just it's so hard to believe. This is the first episode that they filmed of the second season, right? So we're back, this is the beginning of production, and everyone is so bored in this episode.
Yeah.
And so little happens, and there's just every single moment is padded out, clearly because there's not, sorry, Robert Bloch, but there's not much of a script to work with. And, it aired later. They saved it for Halloween because it was Halloween themed, but episodes like this
but it's not Halloween themed enough, I think. That's my issue with it. At least proportionally compared to like the short story, which I read after this and was like at least satisfied that we got some good witch stuff going on.
Right.
I didn't like it this time. Like I've only ever seen this episode twice, actually. The first time I didn't like it because I was like, this is silly. But not, like this time watching it, I wanted it to be like kind of goofy and fun and Halloweeny because I want to be in that spirit. And instead it was just like, it's so boring. Like I wanted it to be spooky.
I got the idea. Yeah. I don't know if Robert Bloch, he wrote Star Trek. I don't know how much he watched Star Trek. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I heard that his script for What Are Little Girls Made Of was so like just bad or like not measuring up that Roddenberry had to rewrite a bunch of it. Of course, that could be just Gene's story because he rewrites everybody's stuff. But but I get the feeling that like he's more of like the sci-fi premise, idea guy, and maybe didn't really know much about how the characters worked or the in and outs of the show. I could be wrong. That's just kind of the sense that I got from this episode. We should say first that, it's called Catspaw. There is a cat in it, and I think that's kind of confusing. Maybe there shouldn't have been a cat if you call it Catspaw, but a Catspaw is a person who's used or controlled by others, a puppet or a stooge. And the term comes from a fable, a French fable by Jean de La Fontaine called Le Cygne et le Chat, the monkey and the cat. And in the story, the monkey and the cat are working together. There are like chestnuts roasting on a fire, and the monkey tells the cat to, okay, get these, you reach in, get these chestnuts out, and then we'll eat the chestnuts. And so the cat pulls the chestnut out, burns his paw, and then the monkey eats the chestnut, and they do that a couple times, and the cat's not getting any chestnuts. And then the matron comes in and chases them away. So the cat gets nothing for its trouble and its burned paws.
You got Catspawed.
You got the Catspawed.
Yeah, sure. I thought they were like, oh, it's clever. There's also a cat.
Yeah, but there's a cat. So people who are unfamiliar with that term are like, what, is there something in the cat's paw or something?
Yeah.
Did the cat gets its paw on the magic wand?
It felt like they ran out of Halloween stuff, and there was just so much cat too.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, because is it by any other name is another episode of the original series, and in that episode it features beings who come from another galaxy, and they have taken human form, and having a human form means that feeling sensation, the sensual side of being a human, is overriding their beings of cold logic. They just do that again, like later in this season.
Yeah.
With a Jerome Bixby script. So that's something that we see a lot. But I always like when we get creatures from outside the galaxy. Later, Trek, it really realizes, I think, and understands how huge the galaxy is. You're never going to explore it all.
Yeah.
But old style Trek, often has creatures come from the Andromeda Galaxy or just somewhere outside the galaxy, and I kind of like that. And I don't want to give away my trump card here, but the entire episode is almost worth it for the puppets at the end. I really love Kolob and Sylvia's real forms. They're the little pipe cleaner puppets. That just
I love.
It's so
that.
weird. It's so clearly born out of them having no money left in the very first episode to do the aliens, but it's just so strange. And I wish that the entire episode embraced that sort of strangeness.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I love the concept of they tap into your subconscious, so it's things we're afraid of, but then they really thought they would get a lot of mileage out of that humans are afraid of cats,
Yeah, right.
I think it should have been I'm sorry I'm focusing so much on the cat, but it felt like the cat should have been there when they walk in and been ooh, spooky black cat, and then she turns into a human. But then, the rest of the episode...
Which they do again at the end of this season as well in Assignment Earth.
She should have turned into other things, you know what I mean? Other monsters,
Yeah, why the cat? And the answer is budget, right? Because you can get a cat, that's fine.
She should have chased them as, a Frankenstein, as a Dracula, as a Wolfman.
as a werewolf, and yeah. Well, maybe that was just too far, I guess. But you've got them walking around a castle set with fog, and Spock is we've got the explanation. It's like you said, it's kind of weird because they're trying to get into the minds of humans, so they can understand us better. And I'm not sure how this works, but I guess they miss the conscious mind and land in the subconscious mind. So
yeah,
so
just
it's
fine.
all
That's cool.
Oh, you know how people are afraid of witches?
Yeah.
Everybody's afraid
witches,
of castles.
Those were ghouls or something. Those weren't witches.
So they're supposed to be witches, and they're supposed to evoke Macbeth, the witch, the blasted heath, and the witches in Macbeth. But I read that and I didn't really notice it so much, so maybe it's not that big of a deal. But they're supposed to be floating heads. So they had the actresses wear these black turtlenecks that would just totally black out their bodies, but the lighting was wrong, and so it's just you can see that they're wearing these turtlenecks. Witches are wearing turtlenecks for some reason, and even in the remastered version, they couldn't fix it all the way. So it's just three Mum and Chance performers with witch masks on, going oh,
and they're going,
Captain
Ooh.
Kirk, Captain Kirk.
You know how witches wail and moan like ghosts
and say Captain Kirk.
Yeah. The only good thing there was all the fog, the castle, that's good. The black cat at the entrance. The only other really good thing was they had occasional Halloween store skeletons that were hanging up that were awesome. Other than that, they really missed the mark on Halloween.
The plot makes no sense either. What is Korob and Sylvia's plan here? And then it's a good teaser, but they beam their dead guy up, and then get out of here. There's a curse. Well, you want them to go down there though, right? Because you want to learn about them, and you need more Catspaws. But so why try to scare them away?
Well, is it because they tapped into because they wanted to know what they're afraid of?
I don't know. I don't know what their plan is. Did they just steal a ship? They weren't sent by their government, were they? We sent these idiots.
Oh, yeah. I could tell you it was actually about they were talking for a long time, and I was why are we talking and not? I want the trick or treat.
Yeah,
give me the trick or treat.
Yeah, right. He promised a trick or treat. This is just a trick.
This shouldn't be a talking episode, I don't think.
They should. Yeah, exactly. They should just be running from weird stuff and trying to. And there's a scientific explanation to it all, which we kind of have in this. But
yeah, but that
like,
can be done in like 2 seconds. Spock can go like, interesting. It's
right.
They're ghosts, but they're aliens or something. And
They're
like,
they're
okay.
alien ghosts. Yeah. Even if science didn't exist, like if you were in a totally magical fantasy story, breaking the wand would break the person's power. It's like the same thing. Setting it in science fiction does nothing to help the story at all.
Yeah. Oh, the one other Halloween element I liked, but they also fumbled, was like that the crew became like zombies in like the classical sense, like the mind control zombies. But then like I don't feel like they did anything cool with that either.
No, except for just having our crew go toe to toe with each other.
That was kind of fun. That was a fun fight.
I guess we don't actually see that a lot, and of course it doesn't really matter because that's not DeForest Kelley. It's his stunt guy, but
Yeah.
But you don't see the crew just like wail on each other a lot, and it kind of bothered me.
Yeah, they need to fight more.
Yeah, Bones did have he was going to break some bones. He had a mace there, though. That was kind of cool.
At first I was like, what are these weapons they have? I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Bad
And then there
props,
was,
I think.
Yeah. And then there was like some slightly racist kung fu going on because Sulu knows jujitsu or whatever he's doing.
Yeah, and it wasn't even good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's kind of sad because, I heard a story that when he was working on The Naked Time, they wanted to give him a samurai sword. And he's like, no, I'm not going to have a Japanese sword just because I'm Japanese. And they gave him, a rapier instead, the now iconic rapier. But then later on in I think Shore Leave, was it? Like, he's worried about samurais or something like that. So it's like, okay. And then we get to this episode, and it's like, all right, Sulu, you're going to do kung fu fighting while everybody else is just doing regular fighting. So
if he was at least, sick at it, then it would be like, well,
yeah,
cool.
But instead he falls down and knocks himself out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just sad. This Sulu falling down, being pretty much conscious, and then just going, I'm unconscious. That's emblematic of the entire episode for me. Just everybody's just like, yeah, whatever. Cats got it.
Yeah, were they happy to be back for a second season?
I don't know, because they, the first season is, and there's great episodes in the second season, but the first season is there's just so much energy. There's just so many weird and crazy ideas, and it just seems like great. And then they didn't know if they're going to get canceled or not. They ended up coming back. And yeah, it just seems like everybody's just not really into it. And all even our boys, Kirk is just magic, whatever. And Spock is kind of wry, but his heart doesn't seem like he's in it. And I don't know.
Yeah. No one's really interesting in this episode. No really interesting performances.
There's also some actively bad parts in the episode. This is the third time that we see DeSalle. This character is a guy that they used in the first season to just sort of, just be around. They added him they made him into the assistant chief engineer for this, thinking, well, we want Scotty to go down on more missions, but I don't know if it's because the guy's so bad, but they're like, that's a bad idea. Let's just get rid of this guy. So they just got rid of him.
He's not good. They tried to give them a little story. They were trying to break the force field. And so it's like, oh, they get a B story about that. But then down on the planet, they just release them and they say a line like, they would have eventually gotten it. And it's
Korov's I let him go. They were about to get out. I let him go. So it's worthless. Yeah. And you've got, of course, we're introduced to Chekhov in this episode. This is his first production episode. We'd, of course, see him, though, in episodes that aired before this. And not a great debut. And it's not just because of his terrible wig.
Yeah, he looks weird.
But it's just not like they try to set up that he's, kind of got a mouth on him and he's young, but I don't know. He would definitely grow into a more interesting character, but not a lot going on right now. And then even Nichelle Nichols is just, I felt like her performance wasn't really there.
I was ready to kind of like that story too. It's kind of, you got your two side characters and then you got your one guy who is this guy character, and they get to have their own little, it reminds me of
Geordi
know,
had this a lot.
Geordi,
Because,
yeah.
Yeah, whoever the chief engineer was would like try to push Geordi around.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That happens in that first season episode where they go to the planet with all the drones or whatever, and Geordi has to, yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, cool. Like, let's have that type of thing. But they don't got chemistry, and they don't even get to solve the problem. And it could have been a good counter. The science fiction element of that could have been good counter to the goofy Halloween episode, you know, like have a headless horseman, you know, chase them around. Just gonna keep thinking of monsters that could have been in this.
You're gonna run out someday. Yeah, I don't know what the thinking was there. I also don't know what the thinking is, and maybe they did this and it's 50 years ago, so I don't know about it. But I don't know why Lincoln Collectibles didn't release like Enterprise keychains or the Enterprise paperweight, you know, with the ship encased in lucite.
That looked pretty cool, yeah.
That seems like some prime merchandising opportunities there. It's interesting. Roddenberry donated that prop, the lucite prop, to the Smithsonian Museum of Air and Space after that, so you can see it there.
Oh, nice. It's a legendary prop.
Yeah, from that amazing second season episode, Catspaw.
Yeah, it's less cool effect of like using that compared to the short story too, but I guess you can't blow up the Enterprise.
Yeah, I guess so. Or there's the other second season episode, the Who Mourns for Adonais, where the giant green hand, you know, is grabbing the ship. It's weird because I watched this show as a kid and it's not like a super advanced show, but I didn't get a lot of the more adult aspects, but I always liked it when they were doing something to the ship, like a hand was grabbing the ship or they've got the ship on a keychain or something like that.
It'd been cool if they like threw it in the fire and it blew up and they like had to find a way to undo it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, to fix it. I don't know.
Like reverse time or use their magic or whatever.
They get the wand and then you can, use the wand.
Yeah, the transmuter or whatever it was, it's not fleshed out in any detail. Yeah. It's funny how something that's old or beloved like Star Trek becomes, you know, like a classic series, and then all of the aspects of its production are scrutinized like a historical document. Like you can go back, you can actually go on the Memory Alpha page and see the exact dates where the script developed. So they've got like Broomstick Ride published December 1957.
Oh, right.
Then it was submitted as an outline in March of 67 by Block. And then the filming days, you know, we have like Larry Nemechek or somebody has like a copy of the shooting schedule and the call sheet and all these things. And it's, and this episode sucks. So it's like recording something. It's like Patton Oswalt's bit about deathbed, you know, and the guy having to build the bed of death and his son resenting him because he can't be home. But he's like, this is all for a good cause. This is for deathbed. And of course, the product is deathbed. So.
Yeah, historical failures, I guess.
Yeah. Everybody working so hard on a piece of crap. Do you think they have Halloween in the Federation?
Well, apparently, okay. I was wondering about that because Spock didn't know what it was,
yeah.
But like everyone else did, and I was wondering if it's in a way that it's like how they remember Shakespeare, where it's like they just conveniently remember random things, or if that's like a good insight on like how the Federation works. If it's like, you know, it's not a total monoculture, right? Like, so you could be on Vulcan, grow up on Vulcan, and it's like when I hear that like yesterday was Canadian Thanksgiving, and it's like, oh, what, really?
Yeah.
Or like, you know, what's Canada Day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the less monoculture, the better. I feel like Amanda would really like Halloween, though. She probably would have told Spock about it.
Yeah, she would probably embrace that kind of thing. So I'm going to guess they don't, because
Halloween is pretty divorced from its kind of religious underpinnings now. So I don't think that, because I thought like if they don't have religion, then would they have like the night where you go, fuck religion, would that persist? But if it's just about like cool costumes and candy, I mean, that could last into the future.
Well, it seems like they have all these other things, you know, that are tied to religion now or whatever. So, you know, like they apparently have a chapel where like weddings that like resemble like you know old Christian weddings or whatever happen. So
they mentioned credits in this episode, lending credence to my theory that Captain Kirk gets a paycheck. They have money still.
Is your theory is that they do have money?
They at this time they absolutely do have money. I spoke with a guy who you're not on Facebook, so maybe you don't know who he is, but a guy named Will Wynn, who is the Star Trek communist. I spoke to him for an Enterprising Individual show, and he gently rebuked me about the idea of money in credits, and that you can have, currency in communism, no problem. It just doesn't. It doesn't, represent any kind of stored wealth anywhere. It's just, something to use for exchange.
A social kind
We're
of
not going to
currency.
be, we won't be giving each other chickens. Like, you need to have a way to carry value with you. And so I'm totally cool with there being credits, but I just think it's interesting that they specifically say credits in this episode. With the Navy bean comment, which is like, what?
That totally went over my head, I gotta admit.
It doesn't mean anything, because when you search at Google, it's all references to Catspaw. So it's Robert Bloch is just like, this will really confuse him.
He's winging it, yeah.
Yeah, I think he really is, I think. I wish he'd winged it more.
Exactly. This needed to be
harpies?
crazier.
Mothman. There's some wings.
Mothman. Yeah, Mothman would have been great. The Jersey Devil.
The Jersey Devil, yeah. Or just like a guy in a cloak who is Jack the Ripper or something like that.
Well, I guess he went for that.
Well, yeah, I suppose he did.
They should, on Discovery, they should do Slender Man.
They're just doing all this internet meme stuff. All of season 3 of Discovery is just creepypasta.
Creepypasta, yeah. They find that haunted Majora's Mask cartridge.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, we'll just put it in the Polybius machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
What if they had landed the aliens in Spock's brain? Not the episode, but what if they had probed the Vulcan subconscious, the racial subconscious? Oh boy, we don't use that word like that anymore.
Yeah, that's a weird term. Yeah, because again, that's what I feel like they should have explored more. So they should have had more variety, and then they could have had, because you don't want to make the focus on it because it's not something we recognize because it's not a real thing. But one moment of what freaks Vulcans out,
Heat stroke. Giant what was he, Chaya? I can't remember what kind of beast a Chaya was. A Selot. Giant Selots.
Could have been just emotional connection with your father.
Yeah.
Sarek's just there and he's like, son, I want to talk about our feelings.
It would just be a heated Thanksgiving table argument that goes on forever and ever about politics.
Yeah, it should have been like Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey when they're in hell.
Oh, yeah, kissing the grandma and the Easter Bunny. Yeah. Oh, we did it. We connected Bill and Ted to Star Trek, which is something we probably should do at some point in the future, especially with Bogus Journey.
Oh, yeah, especially with we just watch Arena again.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, the Vasquez Rocks are in more than just Arena, but yeah, for sure.
We'll just keep watching Arena.
Yeah, they're in Shore Leave, too.
Let's do a Vasquez Rocks episode.
And they're in Picard, yeah. Boy, I like the jump cuts in the episode, like when they...
Oh, the teleportation, yeah.
Yeah, there's no fancy effect, they're just somewhere else. I think that's kind of understated.
Yeah, I those stood out to me, too. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Simple effect. Not even really... I guess it's an effect, but it's not really an effect, which is cool.
This is the only episode in which Sulu appears and does not speak. He doesn't say anything.
He goes "Aya" or something, right?
Well, yeah, he yells when he, yeah. But and I love when Scotty and Sulu come in with the key. It's just a great example of the padding because it takes so long.
they do agonize over it, and then they get locked up again, and they come down and do it again.
Yeah. Got to get the key out, and then we got to do this and put it in the thing. And
that time you could have been showing a swamp thing or something.
I the Theo McCruce is the guy that plays Korob, and he sucks. He's just not. I just don't think he's that great. He sadly died a month after this episode aired.
Oh no!
And also, he was he got a Silver Star for being in World War II. So thank you for your service, but don't.
There's a lot of weird close-ups on his face.
Yeah. Oh, and they say mumbo jumbo at one point. Don't say mumbo jumbo. Mumbo jumbo is inherently racist. Don't. I know it's 1967,
well, yeah.
But come on.
There's people who probably don't even know that now. So
I do like how when they all sit down for this meal, so they offer him a meal, and nobody gets a chance to eat it because then they immediately turn it into jewels. I don't know, and I feel like they put the jewels in just so Kirk can say, "We don't like jewels. We don't care about money," even though we got credits in Navy beans. But I do like how Korob is like, "Try the wine, doctor." Just a little subtle thing that the doctor's a drunk, so of course he's gonna like the wine the most.
This is the mind probe, yeah. I like that the jewels were very. They look very store bought.
Yeah,
like Halloween store jewels. That was pretty good.
Yeah, you can just buy them in bulk.
Yeah, they look like clip art jewels.
I like the subtle implications that Dr. McCoy is a high functioning alcoholic.
Yeah, they should have done more with that.
He looks like crap in this episode too. Like they're doing his hair a little different, and he doesn't look very good. They
hadn't figured it out yet with the new season. Maybe. How he was going to look.
Yeah, maybe we'll give him a new look. No. Go back to the old one. Yeah, it's just like having Spock try to explain what's going on, and the explanation. Like when an episode makes Spock sound dumb, that's a bad episode.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I hadn't considered that.
But I do like like I'd mentioned before, I do like the idea of exploring using magic in the same way that, we use science, and like, what if there was, maybe this race is, their whole thing is like magic. It's not, it's technology, but if they met a race that like just use magic in the same way, and like, we need more, magic coolant for the magic drive or something like that.
Yeah. And they don't have to like, I wish they wouldn't have to agonize over explaining it too. Like maybe it could be a thing where you have to destroy the transmuter wand. And then it's like, well, we'll never get to learn about it because I broke it.
Yeah.
But instead, it's like as soon as we meet the characters, they tell you about themselves. Like they don't even.
Oh, they won't shut up. Yeah.
Yeah. They should be trying to freak them out. Maybe it's like, we need your fear juice. Like
Monsters Inc. Yeah, right. We need your screams. Yeah. Why put on this whole show and say there's a curse and bring out the witches and all this? It's never really stated that it's like directed. It could be just all a side effect of them mining literally, the subconscious for these images, but they're not. What are they used for? Nothing. The most dangerous thing is a giant cat that I suppose could eat them or scratch them to death.
A giant cat could probably mess you up.
Yeah.
Even if it was just a giant house cat.
But the most dangerous predator of all is Captain Kirk.
Well, he's
Sylvia's only mistake was being a woman in front of James Kirk.
Yeah, this is one of those episodes where it does have the sexy Kirk that I know you think is kind of a myth.
It does, but it also it wrecks it because it comes right out and says why he's doing it. He seduces many women throughout the course of the series, and he does it for the exact reason he's doing it here, which is to manipulate them and get them out of this situation. But she just says the quiet part out loud and is like, "You're using me." And it's like, yeah, that's this episode. It never ends.
Just explaining itself to you. Yeah.
That's all it does. You say something good about it.
The skeletons.
The skeletons that are just chained up, it's a Mel Brooks bit.
I wish they had tried to save or even just collect the corpses of them at the end when they're the little puppets.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they want to be like, we should like study these guys? But instead they're like, let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah. It is kind of a City on the Edge of Forever ending. Maybe they're just picking that up from the end of last season. But yeah, Kirk's like, this isn't funny. Like, Jackson's dead. This is we're not having a good time down here with giant cats. Like they killed one of my crew members.
Yeah.
Screw these guys.
Maybe they shouldn't have killed anyone.
Yeah.
Or maybe they should have in a more horrific way, I guess.
Or maybe more people. Yeah. They need to have some kind of threat here. But, God, these idiots just bounce off of each other. And
he should have gotten attacked by a Jason or something.
Yeah. We invented a Jason. Now, he won't be in any movies for a while, but we've got this idea for this kind of mask.
Yeah, so this is before the time of slashers, right? And I think now...
Yeah, in a lot of ways, Psycho was the first slasher.
Yeah. I think now they could go to a slasher planet where they're like... You know how they went to the gangster movie planet? Like, maybe they're like, an old blockbuster crashed into our planet and we scoured the horror section, and we've based our culture on Friday the 13th series. Child's Play 2.
So, come on, everybody, we got to go to camp. Yeah, and just or like,
oh no, yeah, summer camp murder planet. Yeah,
or like, they find the only copy of Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and so everybody's appliances can turn into things that call them bitches.
Everybody wears Freddy sweaters, and
everybody wears a sweater
and
the hat. Yeah, they call each other bitches.
Yeah,
it was almost worth it for the puppets, but wow, what a long walk for some cool
that's
puppets.
That's the good thing. It was worth it for the puppets. Yeah, I didn't feel like I wasted my time. I would rather rewatch Spock's Brain than this episode. I'll say.
Oh, Spock's Brain is great.
Yeah,
I mean it's bad, but it's great.
It's a good episode because it delivers. And this, because I remembered this is a bad episode, and I was like, I'm gonna tune in though, and it's gonna be I'm gonna have a blast. You know, it's gonna be so goofy, and it's not even goofy.
It's not really. I mean, it's inadvertently kind of goofy, like when Sylvia's like, I could be all kinds of ladies, and then she's like a sexy clown or something. She has this weird like pantsuit outfit, and the ladies kind of dancing back and forth, and it's like, yeah, it's real hot.
It was, again, they don't quite understand the human conscious, you know?
Yeah, that's right. I guess it's all on them. Yeah. I don't know. Someday we'll do Freaky Friday and Turnabout Intruder, and we can set the bar a little bit lower. But this is pretty low.
That's a bad one, right? Yeah,
this is pretty low. Yeah. Well, all right. Let's. Magic aside, technology is still the yardstick of achievement in the future of Star Trek, and it facilitates what the characters are doing. Just as often, it's a complication they're dealing with. So on every show, we randomly pick from a list of Star Trek technologies. We add what we get to the non-Trek media and subtract it from the Trek episode to see how each would be different. We call it our trick or treat, our technological exchange. And here is the list that we pick from. We've got phasers, holodecks, tricorders, transporters, warp drive, replicators, communicators, shields, advanced medical technology, and androids. And on my random number selecting device, I got a 2. So if holodecks existed in the world of Broomstick Ride, how would it be different?
Well, I guess, I mean, you'd leave it open then for even spookier outcomes, I guess. That conversation could have taken place inside a holodeck.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, they have that. They throw the thing in the fire and the ship explodes, and then we pull back, and the whole thing is a holodeck scenario run by the Cal of the planet, thinking like, and that's what would happen if we let these guys mine on our planet.
Yeah, I feel like the holodeck, it makes me think of like with magic, it's already, what you could do illusion-based magic and stuff. So like, I mean, maybe they don't even need a holodeck, or maybe the illusion-based magic is like the technology, it's like holographic technology that we just don't understand.
So like there is no Vivitch party going on. They're just like projecting this party to like keep people scared of witches.
That would be very in the vein of Star Trek. Like they go to a planet and they like all this magic stuff's going on, but then they have to like debunk it,
Sure.
So it's
sure.
like, oh, it's just a hologram, you know? Like that's something they would totally do.
It's like a devil's due situation.
Yes, yeah. That's a good
Which I can't
example.
believe it took us this long to talk about, but yeah.
Well, we'll do that.
I was wondering about I was wondering about the story, and like you've got this planet Pyrus, but is this like the only planet that the witches went to? One of the things I like about the end of the episode is that there's this dark suggestion that that they're growing, you know, like they're growing in dark power, and they're only at like the Middle Ages level of development. But like when they become a technological spacefaring society, will they have all this, you know, evil power as well? Will they infect the rest of the universe? And I think it's like they didn't seem to have much of a plan for like when spacemen showed up to their planet, and you know, and we're like, hey, is that magic? What are you doing there? Like they didn't seem to, and it's possible that they didn't know how to anticipate that. They just landed here on this planet to start a new world, and then 2,000 years later, like some spacemen show up, and it's like, oh shit, this is what happened before.
That would be interesting for, you know, them, like like in Star Trek or something, for example, for them to encounter not just like this primitive planet, but they come across a spacefaring civilization of like Satan worshippers. Like, well, I guess they know about the devil too, and they love him, but they also travel space.
We love him, folks. We love the devil.
It'd be kind of cool because I guess like all the other religious societies they encounter, it's like they can be more like analoged onto like something like some sort of earth belief, right? But there's nothing like Satanism or anything, you know?
Yeah, like if there's a religion, it's something that is, because they don't meet a lot of aliens with religion. I think one of the tenets of the show is that you need to get rid of that before you can get to space. But yeah, if they met like a race that was, and actually I don't want them to do this because it wouldn't be sensitive, but if they met a race that was, you know, the tenets of their religion was, you know, kill and convert. There's the first book in the Culture series by Ian M. Banks features a situation like that where, you know, the it's named after the titular culture, which is like a federation type conglomeration of people who are like, you know, techno-anarchists, and they're like, you know, can't do what you want. And they run into this other like giant like hegemony of beings that have this like religion that's very aggressive, and so they want to start a war with the culture, and the culture's like, yeah, we don't want to fight anybody, it's okay, it's fine. And then at some point, like this other race called the Adherans, they start to look like if they're going to be a problem. They're going for like galactic domination, and so the culture's like, all right, I guess we have to like fight these guys. And the way they win is, I mean, they win militarily, but then they also win by just letting them kind of do what they want. So like in another book in the series, 300 years later, you find out that the Adherents are just part of the culture. They're like just get absorbed by the culture because that's the future the left wants.
I don't think you would see something like that in Star Trek.
No, Star Trek is way too Cold War propaganda, neoliberalist, even without the pursuit of wealth, I guess. No, yeah.
You do have, like, I think of, like, the Dominion, like, the way they're structured around the founders or whatever. Like, there's almost, like, a cult-like religious following for them, where it's like...
And, you know, we don't explore this because they're always the bad guy, but there are a lot of... When they go to the Gamma Quadrant and they're cruising around before they really encounter, like, the founders themselves, there are a lot of planets that are part of the Dominion, and, yeah, some of them have been completely obliterated by like a targeted genetic virus, but a lot of them are just like, there's the Dominion, you know, they're the new bosses. We do business, we live our lives, and the Dominion are just kind of leave them alone. But then there's the virus planets.
Yeah. So, holodecks.
Yeah, holodecks.
But yeah, I want to see like space, maybe not space Satanists, but space witches. I think that'd be cool to have. You could even do that in Star Trek, I think.
I mean, that's a 2-word pitch right there.
Yeah, that could be its own thing for sure.
Space witches.
Space witches. It's got a good ring, yeah.
Somebody must have done that. Space witches.
What if I Google that?
Google space witches live on the air.
Space witch wiki.
What?
Oh, I think it's just a username on some.
Oh. Okay, this is rife. We gotta do this.
Yeah. Oh, wait, there's a book called Space Witch? Here we go. Space Witch by Don Freeman. This is free advertisement. It's a children's book, I think.
Oh, see, that doesn't count.
Oh, it's got a witch flying around on a little spaceship with a kitty cat behind her.
Is the cat flying on its own?
It looks like there's fireworks in the sky.
Oh, okay. Does the cat have a rocket engine in its ass?
Oh no, the cat's in the ship.
Oh, okay.
Like riding shotgun with the witch. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
There we go.
All right. This is unexplored territory, though, I think. So
yeah,
look forward to that.
Like every episode, I think we've got a new pitch.
Well, let's flip over to the Trek side of the equation and also have a bad time because they didn't have holodecks in the original series era. But I think we can just say, holograms, holographic communication, that sort of thing. They don't know anything about it. It's not part of their world. And I would argue that maybe the illusions, as they are, of the episode would be more effective because even when they get there, they're like, is this real? Like, are we really experiencing this? Is this, a solid structure? And of course, they prove that it is because they can't get out of their chains. But maybe they don't know what holograms are.
Right, but because I'm also thinking like with the holodeck, it can be fake, but like you can still feel it,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like, yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess I don't know what the distinction is because they're like, this is real, but it's like, what is real? Real is like you can touch it, but
yeah,
I guess it doesn't matter when you're locked in chains. There's no distinction.
They would put in this universe, Star Trek people put all of their faith in what they can see and touch, and maybe they'd be a little more impressed by the tricks because at this point, like they've seen godlike aliens do all kinds of tricks, but
yeah, they're not like too thrown off by it. They look at it in a very cold kind of way, divorced from. They're not worried about the magic,
Right.
Which again, I think kind of takes some of the teeth away from it. Not that I want them to be like, oh no, witches, ghouls, or whatever, but I don't know. I want them to be scared.
What if bye-bye holodecks? What if one of the characters is revealed to like be a real expert on like witchcraft and like Wiccanism and like the Salem witch trials and stuff like that? I always like that when they run into something that has a particular aspect, and clearly the author of the episode, went wiki diving on his own, and so now we turn. Oh, did you know that Scotty knows all about like the Salem witch trials, and he's like telling him all about this and that. Yeah,
that's cool. Or like when you get to learn about like a position you didn't know about on the ship, like it's just like, oh, I'm gonna call up the historian to come with.
Yeah, right. The 20th century historian. Yeah,
it would be cool for it's
who
like
just watches soap operas all day. Like what's his research?
Yeah, exactly.
No, this is research.
Yeah, so why not have like our theologist or whatever, come with us? Because I
really
assume they're observing other planets where they have religion, so there's got to be a guy studying that on board.
Oh, sure. And like, don't tell me that there aren't people in the Federation who still have a religion, right? It's not like to get into the Federation, it's like prove that you believe God is dead. Spit on this Bible, then you're in. Like that, it wouldn't be like that.
I mean, the whole time they're trying to get the Bajorans to join the Federation, and they're not demanding they stop believing in the prophets.
Do it. Dynamite the wormhole. I want to watch you do it. I'm actually talking to a guy who has a podcast called Star Trek and the Jews tomorrow. And
okay.
It's all about seeing like echoes of Jewish faith and like Jewish cultural practices in Star Trek. And there's more than you'd think. but maybe not. There aren't a lot. Like, there are no Jewish characters in Star Trek. And is that because sure, there's like a ban on like religion and stuff like that, but it's an ethnicity, you know? It's like, you're telling me there's no Jews in the Federation?
I think, yeah, that's probably, again, just from, like, it's made from this specific point of view, you know?
Yeah.
They're trying not even to really give off the idea that there's, like, Christianity, right? But, like, there's so much that's just, like, baked into the writer's worldview that is, like, Christian-based, you know?
Yeah. Well, and sometimes that's, you know, that's just part of the process or the established universe, and sometimes it's enforced. I remember that big flap over when, was it Jason Isaacs was like, you know, for God's sake, get this done or whatever on Discovery, and they're like, well, no, you can't say for God's sake because they don't believe in God. And it's like bedamned. Like, so you're still going to use these expressions. Picard tells people to get the hell out of here, you know, all the time.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's just there are things we say that are like based on phrases from like 1,000 years ago. That doesn't. Yeah.
So, like, I wonder when like Kirk talks about trick or treat or Halloween or whatever. I wonder what he thinks it is, right? Because right now we think of like spoopy skeletons and witches and stuff, but like, how has it evolved over the 200 and 300 or so years?
He just thinks of giant black cats.
They're running. People are riding them. They're feeding them candy. It's just cat-based holiday.
Maybe that's all she could get from his mind.
She just got cats and a castle.
He's like, I think Macbeth. I remember. I don't know.
Yeah, right. There's like some witches or something. I don't know. I like that. So now we take that character that I mentioned before, who knows about all the witches and all that. That now you put that character front and center, and it's that person's mind specifically that they scan, right?
Yes.
So you see an energy orb, you know, floating through the hallways, and it goes through their door, and it rests on them when they sleep. And then now Korob and Sylvia have like all the material they need to put the Enterprise crew through this whole fun house of horrors.
And here's what I want to happen. Like when they get the historian in Space Seed, and she actually like is infatuated with Khan. I want this guy or girl to be obsessed with the magic and maybe like kind of enticed by it, you know, and maybe they join the space cult because they're like they're tricked and they're like, this is real, you know.
They're gonna be drawn in, and it's
Spock has to like save him because he's like cold logic, you know, or they die.
You just described who mourns for Adonais, right? Because in that, the Lieutenant Palamas or whatever was like a religious researcher or something like that, wasn't she? And then so she ends up with Apollo.
Okay, yeah, maybe that is just that.
So proof of concept. No, I mean that would work. But yeah, I'm imagining like an X-Men situation, like a Goblin Queen situation, where this character, you know, feels empowered by this and then kind of gets drawn into it.
Goblin, that's a good monster too.
Yeah, well, don't see him in this. Yeah, the holodecks. But anyway, I think we did all right.
Yeah,
this is the first time we run into that because we've never rolled holodecks on TOS before, and now I'm looking at replicators and going, food processors, I guess.
Yeah, they
might
don't
have
really
that problem
that.
in the future. Yeah. Androids.
Maybe
There's androids. There's androids in a Robert Bloch episode. Yeah,
we need a TOS special list. Maybe
the list works. The list works.
It's worked. Yeah, it's gotten us through many a time.
Well, should we tell people what's coming up on the next episode of Backtracking?
Yes, the next episode I think we're talking about indulges a little bit more in the premise, and that is the TNG episode, A Fistful of Datas, which, despite its name, it shares a lot more in common with Rio Bravo.
Yeah, it really does. Rio Bravo, classic film. Fistful of Datas, classic TNG episode.
Memorable. I will say memorable. I like it.
I think we can go with memorable.
It's fun. It's fun.
Well, you're a Worf stan, but also
I'm a Troy stan too.
Any Brent Spiner stands out there too will love
who's
this
not,
episode.
you know? That's
Yeah, I
like
guess.
liking Data. I'm gonna say right now, that's a basic opinion at this point.
Liking Data, liking Brent Spiner in a dress. I don't know. That's a big ask.
Oh, I forgot about that. No, that's great. No, that's stupid. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, we'll figure it out next time we come back. But that's it for this week's Backtrekking. Thanks for listening, and if you like the show, tell a friend. You can follow us at Backtrekking on Twitter, and tell us what you think that we should look at in future episodes. Could we tell the people where they can find you online?
You can go find me on Twitter. I am at GUIFame, and I post about all my shows and projects over there.
And I am at K-A-1-I-B-A-N on Twitter, and you can find all the Just Enough Trope shows at Just Enough Trope on Twitter. And this will come out after, but I wanted to mention that Discoverage is coming back to talk about the third season of Star Trek Discovery. Every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, we go live and talk about what's going on Discovery. And Gooey's been on Discoverage a couple times.
Yeah, hopefully I can get in there and talk about some Discovery this season.
Absolutely, yeah. Looking forward to that.
Cool.
Well, that's it for us for this week. We'll see you soon, and until we return, keep on trekking.